A is for Alcoholic is a program about recovery. My name is John and I'm an alcoholic.
And my name is Jerry and I'm an alcoholic.
Join us as we go through the alphabet of alcoholism one letter at a time.
Wait, do you have an itch in your throat or something?
I must have. Yeah, it's not the Rona. I mean, I can still taste things. I think
I love it, dude. The coughing fit at this point. I'm like, are you all right? It's just an itch, right? Just tell me it's an itch.
it's just sometimes, yes, it's just an itch. It's just a little, sometimes, you just get a little, what do they call it? Just a little phlegm in there.
Yeah.
Just a little pre-pod phlegm.
Pre-pod phlegm. Yeah, you're just lubing it up, getting ready.
But, no, so you were saying.
All right.
That.
So we were talking before we started recording, might as well record now, about me going to a Zoom AA meeting, and John was like, did you get anything out of it? And I flat out was like, no. He's like, did you feel better afterwards? And I was like, no. And then I was being snarky and fucking feeling sorry for myself. And I'm like, as long as I don't drink, right? Don't drink, Jerry. And then John was like, do you want to drink? And I was like, I don't want to. And I think my analogy for it is kind of crude, but it's kind of like setting up this whole elaborate thing to jerk off. You got this whole elaborate thing. You have all this stuff, all these different sexy lubes and 550 tabs open. And then you like go through all this work and then you jerk off and you bust a nut in like 30 seconds. And then you still have to clean up all that shit and close out all the tabs with your post nut busting shame. That's the only way I could really relate to drinking right now, is like, it is so much work for that tiny bit of whatever that is I get from drinking. That's
right.
Exactly how I think of it, is just like, and then I got to do all this embarrassing cleanup. And
right.
Then, and I got 6 tabs open with some real weird shit. Yeah.
Right. Which, I think in there too that there might be some. I think and we're not talking about this today, but there is a lot of, I think, unnecessary shame in sexuality.
Of course,
that we go through. Well, I mean, you and I both go through, and I've talked about this with my girlfriend, and she's like, "Really, you feel?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess it's just from deep-rooted cultural teachings about how I should feel."
Yeah, we're from that last generation of that shit, dude.
And so, when I think about that, and so it's that shame, and then you're like, oh, I had that one little moment of like, a glass of whiskey sounds fucking awful, and at the same time, like, what that would be super awesome for that 1 second.
That 1 second, yeah. It's that 1 second and then all that fucking work. At this point, I've trained my mind over the past 6 years to equate drinking with work, like just too much work. So to me, it's not even a release or a relief anymore. It's not my respite from the world. It's just extra work added onto my world. And if people listen to the podcast, they'll know that common theme with me where I hate work and I don't want to do extra work. And now booze is extra work. And all it is a detriment. It just adds more work to the emotional and physical work I have to do every day already,
Right.
Man, I don't want to get no drunk during no fucking pandemic, dude. Damn, dude. Let's make it harder. Yeah, it would be awful. Like, this already sucks. Let's just make it extra hard. Let's do some more shit to make it hard. Now I got my wife mad at me and my kid all confused as to why Dad's doing that weird shit. Nah, man, I don't need all that extra shit in my life.
Why is he sleeping in the garage again?
Crying. Yeah, punching shit and crying and making me listen to some fucking stupid song over and over again. Some Nick.
The Cure.
Nick Cave. Some fucking.
Oh, yeah.
Brother, My Cup is Empty by Nick Cave.
My cup is empty. That's what I was thinking too.
Yeah.
Welcome to A is for Alcoholic.
Boom. That's our intro was a 45-year-old man talking about masturbating. That's great.
Hey man, this is real life in the pandemic. It's a trip. It doesn't always make you feel good. It doesn't always bring you the comfort that you want, those things, And so I think I would say that one cool thing I heard in a meeting was that sobriety is like a stool, right? So it has like 3 legs, and whatever those 3 legs are for you, maybe one is service, maybe one is meetings, one is program. And if one of those legs is not doing well, you have to focus on the other 2 that do work. So, your program is not solely going to meetings. For some people,
Right.
those meetings are saving their life.
Absolutely. Right? Yeah, I will never discount a meeting or put a meeting
Right.
into that box where I'm like, this is useless. It's not useless at all.
Right. It's just that this particular meeting at this particular moment in your life didn't bring the refreshing.
Right.
You didn't have the Mentos moment afterwards.
I had a drinking dream, and so I decided to go to a meeting. And the weird thing about the drinking dream was every drinking dream I've ever had, I start drinking, and then my brain goes, you're not supposed to be drinking. And then I panic, right? Every single one I've had, and I've only had a little handful of them. And this dream, I had already been drinking. Like my dream now in my mind was like, hey, you're a drunk again. You're just a drunk asshole again, and that's your life. And I had accepted it in the dream. Like my mindset was like, well, this is what I am. So I guess I fucked that up. So here I am, and this is what I am. So this is what I do now. And the acceptance of it scared the shit out of me that I had accepted it. Like I woke up not patting my body to make sure all my limbs are still there. I woke up like hard, like not hard. That's the wrong word. I woke up like in my mind, hardened in my mind, I guess.
Yes.
This is still the wrong word for it, but it was a difficult awakening. Like it was heavy. Like I was kind of bummed. I was like, damn, I had just, that part of me accepted it again. Like that old part of me that lies dormant right now. Just kind of walked up and was like, all right, I got this. Yeah, this is what you are now. Remember? And I was like, I don't want to remember. So I had to go to a meeting. And I shared that, and I watched everybody's little heads nod on the Zoom camera. So I know they can relate. I know they can relate. It's just, But that being said, like I haven't really thought about it in the past few days either. So those things come and pass. If I start obsessing on it, then I'm calling you and being like, what do I do, man? This is kind of stupid. Yeah. Oh shit. But
you don't. It's good to have somebody to be able to call, but you have more than just meetings at your disposal to help you keep yourself in check.
I got tools to use, but the meetings also, sometimes I look at the meetings as a place I go to like rehone my tools. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm like, oh, this blade of recovery needs sharpening. Got to go to the old shed and sharpen it up. And then I go and sit with all the boomers, and the boomers show me how to do it. Cause you asked me how it was. And I was like, it's mostly all baby boomers, which is fine. I love them. They're all right. I mean, they did some shit, but our generation did some shit too. So,
Yeah. Well, you went, I mean, that's the thing is that you knew what to do. Right. Even if you were like, man, I feel bad. I feel terrible. God, why did I have this dream?
Right.
And they're not fun. I mean, I only had a handful in the beginning, and I haven't had one in a very long time, but they're extraordinarily emotionally heavy.
Yes.
They feel real in the moment, especially with like, you want to talk about the guilt and shame. I don't need to, I mean, maybe it's just a pleasant reminder in this endemic of what you do not need,
Exactly.
Not a pleasant and unpleasant reminder.
Yeah. I think, it's just one of those things, man. It's just, it is, I'm an addict. I'm addicted to alcohol or I was addicted to alcohol. I mean, mentally, I don't know, spiritually, whatever, I still carry that addiction, but the brain goes there. So I have to understand physiologically that shit happens. It's just the chemistry in the brain. Yeah. Is it a sign that my program's not working? I don't know. I mean, I feel sad, but who the fuck doesn't feel sad right now? If you're like bright siding this shit like way too hard, I'm gonna be like, you're wild, you're fucking drunk, Like my wife bright sides it, but within reality, she's like, this sucks, and we need to find something that shimmers in this, or I just can't make it. That's how my wife is. Me personally, I'm like, this is all just hot garbage. And you're the one thing that helps me bright side it. But if you're just rolling out like, work on my sourdough, work on my body, everything's great, I'm like, you're taking Adderall. Like there's something going on with you. What's our letter for today?
I'm so glad you asked, Jerry.
Yeah, let's get
In
into
this
that.
bright mood of yours.
Oh man, I'm so sorry.
It's all right. I today our letter is M, and M could be, we can still change it midstream if we need to, would be my favorite things in sobriety or
Oh
of
fuck!
sobriety. So I'll
Laid a
I'll
big old turd on that banquet table.
hey, at least it's steaming, right?
No,
There's
we
the
could
bright side.
absolutely do this though. We could absolutely do that. Yeah.
So I wrote down some things in my journal, but
Please.
I'm not going to read them verbatim. But I'll just use it as like a jumping
I'm
off.
just fucking with you. You can read your journal. Read us some of your poetry, John.
Would you like to hear my one about the the orange skies of the West Coast fires?
Oh, geez.
Yeah, I know.
It's probably good, actually. I thought you were working on your dad joke material. Let's hear your favorite things in sobriety.
So, I'll start with one, and I want to talk about my relationship with my girlfriend, which wouldn't exist, and we're coming up on 5 years and together, which is amazing to me. Like 5 years.
That's a long time,
right? I mean, I've never had a relationship this long, and I've never had one as healthy and happy and open and honest and communicative. And so when I think about every other relationship and or just even, I mean, many of them, as you know, were not relationships. They were like fucking hookups or me using and manipulating and
right. It was just
hurting people.
Two drunk people doing shit.
Exactly. Yeah. It's and so when I look at how I'm able to develop that and be present, I'm going to start using all the usual jargon that we use and all this stuff, but it's really important. And so I don't think that relationship, it never would have existed had I not quit drinking and had I not been interested in developing my program of sobriety and recovery. I don't think it would have lasted as long.
Yeah.
Because that you don't need alcohol to be an asshole.
You don't. Yeah. You could still be sober and be selfish. Absolutely. Yeah.
So it's just one of those things that I'm like, okay, it's not always perfect. And in fact, it's sometimes there are huge challenges. You've got two human beings who are completely independent, who have had entire lifetimes before we even met.
Yeah.
And then to try to put two people together, how do you do that? I mean, it's virtually, I don't want to say impossible, but it's very difficult to accept another person as they are, who, may or may not have, they've got a whole lifetime of experiences. So, so I just, in the context of sobriety, like that shit wouldn't have happened. I would not have been able to keep this.
Yeah.
I would not keep it like it's mine, but I would not be able to be present and participate in it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like, what a blessing that this is actually, this can exist in my life. And I go, okay, because when I think about all the times I was drinking, most of it, in fact, almost all of it, I was alone.
Yeah, you were, huh?
And there were a couple, relationships, but like they were short-lived and not done well, to say the least.
Right.
But I never, like we'd go out drinking and I was never interested in hooking up at the bar.
Yeah.
Like it never really occurred to me. Those things would happen, but like very rarely, and it was never my intent.
Right.
As a bartender, I would see dudes going in there and like trying to talk to girls all the time, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, just get drunk like a decent human being.
Right. Right.
This poor girl alone.
Quit hunting. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that's one of the things that I really appreciate. And I mean, I know that like you've known your wife forever.
Since we were kids, dude. Yeah.
So, I mean, it's almost, I don't want to say easier, but you've grown up together.
In some ways it is.
That a lot of people haven't.
Right.
It's very unique. to know
It
somebody.
is really unique, you know, and I feel really lucky for that. And yeah, we were apart for like over a decade though. I mean, it's really weird, right? For me to be like, yo, it's high school sweetheart, you know, or whatever, but only when she was in high school. But
Mhm.
but we were apart for a long time. We lived our separate lives. But yeah, in some ways it is easier, but I also think in some ways it has its own difficulties in its own ways, you know, being married with a 10-year-old and those domestic things that I never ever pictured myself navigating. Even 10 years later, I'm like, what the fuck am I doing right now, dude? Like,
Yeah.
you know, whereas my big goal is to maintain a companion, you know what I mean? A companionship with my wife, but then at the same point, like my big fears nowadays are like fucking my kid up. Like I don't want to fuck my kid up. So like every day I'm like I'll lose patience or I'll get frustrated or I'll say some shit in front of her that's overtly negative because I have no filter sometimes and then I'm like, damn, am I fucking this kid up? And then I gotta sit down with my wife and be like, man, I don't want her to grow up like I did. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I don't that's the one thing, man. Like I don't want my kid to grow up like me. Like I mean, I want her to take parts of me, but not I would only want her to skim just the nice cream off the top of that shit, you know?
Well, yeah. I mean, that's part of it, and that's part of what you're like. Well, here's what I want to impart upon you, and of course, we can't control that entirely.
No,
Kids see what they see, and they pick
right.
up things that you're not even looking.
They interpret their own shit their own way. But I'd say
Yeah.
that's one of my favorite parts of sobriety is being present and aware of what's going on and having that actual present thought and then being able to analyze that thought and then accept it just like the way you said it. Like she's just like with you and your girlfriend, you have two adults who have lived an entire life. She is starting to live a life, and so she is processing in the way she processes.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I know if I were still drinking, I wouldn't be able to recognize that because we live in the bubble, right? Like we live in our little self-absorbed bubble, and everybody else is just this bit player in our play, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the most valuable things that working, not even getting sober, but just working in recovery has shown me is that like I'm not the center of all this. I'm just part of it. I'm just one of the pieces of it, making it move whatever direction it's moving, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man. And so that's one of my favorite things is not only being aware of like what my actions are with my family, you know, but also knowing that like I am not the fucking thank God I'm not the center of the universe. Oh God.
Right? Like, wouldn't that be
I thought I
universe would be
was
in
so,
trouble?
man. Yeah, I
Yeah.
thought I was forever. I thought everything revolved around me and now I'm just like that
Mm-hmm.
pressure's gone. Like, okay, if I show up to the podcast in a bad mood, it's my fault. Like it's partly my fault, but I'm not going to ruin John's life. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm not going to reverberate out shit waves on everybody or try not to, you know. And
Mm-hmm.
that mood will turn around if I just ease it up. It always does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think, and relationships in general, I
Yeah.
think are something that previously was not, I don't want to say non-existent, but they were so they were flammable. All of my relationships, my friendships,
Mm-hmm.
my work, not just like intimate ones, but friendships, work relationships,
Right.
coworkers,
Mm-hmm.
anybody I would meet. Everything was so flammable in my life, and
Yeah.
I was running around with a fucking blowtorch. You know
Yeah.
what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
so there was no time to even listen. And like, I think about that now too a lot. I do these, I talk to other people for the podcast and, other stuff. And I really try hard. And even when you and I are talking, it's very easy for me to come to this and have an agenda and have a outline and know where I want to go and where I want to kind of guide the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like the best podcasts, the best conversations that you and I have are the ones where I'm actually listening to you
Huh.
and waiting to kind of be inspired by something you say,
Yeah.
not rather than just like, uh-huh, yep,
You're welcome.
I
You're
got
welcome, John. I'm holding
yeah,
this whole thing
right?
together now.
Exactly.
Holding this whole thing up.
But that didn't exist before
Right.
in those relationships.
Right. Mm-hmm. The transactional, right? So
Mhm.
transactional relationships have no longevity because eventually someone runs out of shit to give you. And so you're like, well, why am I going to give to you if you're not giving to me? Majority of the relationships I had were transactional. You give me, and then I give to you if you give to me, you know. Yeah, be it whatever it is. You give me booze, or you give me sex, or you give me rides, and I'll provide whatever thing it is you need from me, you know, until eventually that well runs dry. At least in my experience, that's what I did. So
Yeah.
our relationships need to be actional. You know, we interact. That's why we hang out. Yeah.
Sure. And our relationship was highly, I mean, I always feel like there was a underline, there was some genuine love and camaraderie and
yeah. I mean, I'm not going to discount that. Yeah.
But there was a lot of transactional bullshit.
You give me and I give you. I was always broke and you always had bar money. So I'm like, buy me booze. And you're like, Jerry's there for a good time, or he'll do some tattoos or whatever.
Well, that too. And I remember when you were in the heyday of the cash flow was high at the tattoo shop for you, and you'd be like, yeah, I got some of that big boy money. You want to go out and get some whiskey? Yeah. And you always used to say that to me. You know, you're like, oh,
I don't remember saying that.
You would say that, or if I had gotten a big paycheck, and you're like, oh, you got that big boy money. Let's go. You know, and I was like, I remember you always saying that. And so it was, there was definitely a level of transaction.
Yeah, absolutely. They tore down the Flint Ridge.
Oh, thank God. A place I used to live.
But I'm sorry, I know, right? This has no context at all whatsoever. But that was that period of time where hanging out was in that apartment complex. They tore that one down, and they tore down the last place you lived in before you moved to Seattle.
Oh, wow.
The one behind Max's.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, that was a weird place anyway.
Yeah.
Like creepy stairwell, and yeah.
It was like a house they'd separated into like 4 different apartments or 5. But they tore, so the past 2 places you lived in Eugene are gone. They're just.
And I didn't see Charlton House either. I tried to drive by there last time we were there, and I couldn't find the address. I thought maybe I'm
still there.
Okay, maybe I just didn't recognize it because it was completely different on the outside.
I know, right? And we bring this up during the pod, but the reason why I bring it up is because that was that period of time where I was making money. Is when I first started making not dishwasher money and actually making, not even more than dishwasher money, big boy money.
But it was, so there was definitely a level of transaction. And I think another thing, something that one of my favorite things now, and although it is still a constant struggle, is the fact that I have my health.
Yeah.
And it's so much more important now, especially with all the shit that's going on out there. Smoke from forest fires, pandemic, like just the fucking onslaught of unhealthy out in the world, that just in the physical world, and we've both been very fortunate. And I mean, I know that your area has been hit a lot harder, not only by the forest fires, but which is usually my department in California, but also by COVID.
Yeah.
And having the health, and I wanted to ask you too about, and this is all kind of incorporated into that. And one of my favorite things is health and running and exercise and like nutrition. And you said to me, you're like, oh, I got to run for the first time in 2 weeks. And I did the same thing happened for me, 3 weeks after I hurt my back, and then my foot was bothering me. And I'm just sitting there, and then it's smoky outside for 10 days.
I know.
And I'm like, oh my God, why this is not fair. And I'm like, but that's kind of a silly attitude to have, because it's not really about me.
Right. But it happens, though. It's like your instinct. It's just, we'll forgive it. The podcast forgives it.
The pod forgives.
The pod forgives.
Yes. So finding my way to health. And you were a huge part of that, because you just straight up lost weight by counting calories.
Yeah.
You weren't even counting. I know. I saw it. And I was like, Jerry logged in 900 days. And I was like, good for fucking him, man. Cause I kind of gave up on that and been trying to do it a little more organically. And it's not been, it's been up and down, and it's been so fucking hit or miss for me. But that first day where the clear skies, I had the day off, and I went out into the fucking woods, and I just found all these crazy trails, and I'm just out there with like just a pair of shorts and some running shoes on,
Right.
and that's
Is that
it.
your video you filmed? Were you at Jack London's
Yeah,
place? Okay.
yeah, yeah. And I'll
Oh,
take
good.
when you come down, we'll go
Yeah.
there. We'll go there.
Yeah.
It's fucking amazing.
Yeah.
But just the idea that, oh, I can be healthy, and it's such an important part. You know, it's I've said this again, I'll say it, I've said it before, I'll say it again. Health and nutrition seems so overlooked in the recovery community that I have seen. Now, there are other people. You can go and find lots of sober runners and weightlifters
Yeah.
and nutritionists, and the resources are available and people are out there. I just don't see it talked about as much in my communities. And so I always try to bring it up in a very non-judgmental way, because, you know, somebody who's just trying, bare knuckling it, not trying to fucking drink, you know,
Right.
Chardonnay today,
Yeah.
doesn't need to hear about the 8 miles that I put in.
Well, and that's why it makes me laugh, because I just imagine you sharing at a meeting and you're just like, I don't know, just talking about your run. You're like, hey, I couldn't run this week. I couldn't do my 8 miles. It's almost as bad as being like, and just so you know, during my share, like during your share, just be like, I have a little podcast I do. You know, like,
what an asshole.
Oh God.
So no, the only reason when I brought it up to in my home group, when they would ask me to share, and let's be honest, they asked me to share.
And this is part of your life. This is part of your recovery, dude.
Part of my recovery.
Yeah, you're not pushing it. Yeah.
So these people have seen me at my biggest, at my most overweight, and they've watched me like just drop the pounds. And so I just, basically I just kind of go like, this is just a physical manifestation of making the better choices about what I put in my body. And that includes alcohol. Mm-hmm. Not to mention, this is sort of all health and running. And for me, running in nature, being able to find those areas.
Yeah.
Like, I had no idea, man. Like, I didn't know that I could run until I did it.
Right.
That's
fucking rad. Yeah.
I had no idea. I just thought it would be something that other people did, and that it was like, so the other thing about it, and I think that you'll probably, if you don't feel this today, I'm sure that you will feel it one day. But running to me has been the most, outside of, second only to sobriety, quitting drinking, has been the most transformative thing in my life.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So when it comes up so often on this podcast about recovery, when it comes up every time somebody asks me to share, it's because it's had such a powerful impact. And so it has become one of those legs that I stand on, literally.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And like my therapist said, she said, John, so there's going to be some days you can't run, and you're going to need to find other things, because it sounds to me like you're pushing on this a little bit too hard. And so I can appreciate that too. Somebody said something about, like, they couldn't run, and a woman on Facebook and this thing, and she was commenting about, I have to find other things, and it has to be a more inclusive program of recovery. I have to include more things than just this, like maybe the 2 or 3 is not enough, and that there's nothing wrong with finding another little thing that I can add, whether it be, it doesn't have to be your if the only thing keeping you alive is Thursday's book study class, then keep going to it. Don't stop. But there might be something else that I can incorporate into my week. That will bring me some joy, some relief. And I've just found that with, like, nature, walking even, I mean, have you found that with running, or is it, I mean, you joke and you're like, I still feel fucking shitty, I just need to get it in.
Well, today was a shitty day, but today's a shitty day. There are days where I run where I have like because today is, honestly, it's been a shitty few days, but that's all like up here in my head. But there have been days where I've run and been like really inspired and cleared things out and figured things out. And there are days where I'm running and I'm like depressed and I'm like, I'm in a fucking hole and I can't get out of the hole and I can't run my way out of the hole. And then there's days where I run and I'm like, dude, I am one part of fucking nature. Like, I am a tiny little fucking dandelion puff floating in the wind, and I have no purpose at all, and I love it. And there's like tears streaming down my face, and I'm running on like a city trail. I'm not even in nature, dude. It's like that must be some embarrassing shit. Like my ass running down the city trail, you know, with sunglasses on, crying through the sunglasses, listening to some beautiful song and feeling ephemeral. You know what I mean? Like feeling like impermanent. And that's the thing I love about running is that tiny feeling of impermanence. Like I love it. Like I'm just part of one thing that's moving along with everything else. So I do love it. And what you said really struck me when you said, I never thought I could run. I never thought I could do that. I never thought I could do any of this shit. I just started doing it. And the reason why I did it was because I could get sober. If I could stop drinking, just fucking count my calories. It's not that hard. Like, Jerry, you need to only eat 1,400 calories in a day to lose a pound a week or whatever it was I was doing. So you just got to do that. You just do that, and it's going to be hard. And you're going to want to fucking snack and want whatever it is you want. Then eat popcorn. Eat fucking grapes one at a time. Eat a fucking cucumber. Just eat pickles. I ate a lot of fucking pickles, dude.
That's right. I forgot about pickles.
I just made some pickles too recently. And so the thing is, like, if I could commit, alcohol's always been my litmus test because it was my fucking greatest love. You know what I mean? It was the thing I thought made me a person, and so I had to get rid of that and realize it was all a lie. And we have talked about the deception of alcohol and alcoholism and the lies your brain will tell you to continue getting what it wants. And if I could drop all that shit, well, why can't I make these adjustments in my life? And the running thing is funny how you took off with it, because I think you started running first, because I was kind of walking but not running, and I was like lifting weights, like lifting my barbell, my little dumbbells, you know, my little 7-pound. I started off with my little 7-pound dumbbells, and then you're like, well, I'm running, and I'm like, well, I want to try running. And so I had a Fitbit, I still wear it, you know, and I had the Fitbit always set to walk, and I would just run a little bit and then walk. And then one day I remember this tangible, like switching over and recording the exercises from walk to run. You know, because you can record each exercise and it'll record what you're doing if you press a button on the side of it. And it's in the categories. So I remember this really significant day where I'd switched the category over from walk to run. I was like, I'm going to commit to running this now. Not just, this isn't no more walking. This is my big boy Fitbit. No more big boy money. This is the big boy Fitbit category. I don't know if I'm going in circles, but
no,
I would
continue.
say everything you're bringing up are my favorite things in recovery. You know, the relationships I have with the people around me, the relationship I have with you, and the depth that we've gone to at this point as friends. Even talking to Coda, the depth I've gone to him, and I don't talk to him often, but knowing that like there's this part of Coda that is really shining right now, that makes me feel good. Dude, you know what one of my favorite parts of recovery is empathy. I never had that. I never felt like I did, but I didn't. It was always a sympathetic empathy. Like I felt sad for other people, but to feel good, actually feel good for someone else, man, I never had that. I never really had that. So to see my friends doing well, and to see the people I care about being healthy and happy and trying to get their shit together, like that actually sincerely makes me feel good, which I never gave a fuck before. I'm like, what are you getting sober? You dingbat. Good luck, dude. You'll be back here. You'll be right back in the fucking hole.
You'll be right back here. Yeah.
Yeah. After these messages, you'll be right back. You know.
I'll keep your seat warm, buddy.
So I think that's one of my other things too. I'll throw that in there, is that sense of empathy, and not for the sake of sympathy empathy where we're all crying, but empathy like, good fucking job. I'm really fucking proud of you. You know, to all you guys, you and Coda and a couple other people that I know closely who are just, you know, the friends of mine who I used to drink with who are just sober now, just don't drink anymore. You know, I'm really proud of those dudes.
Yeah, for
of
sure.
Those people, those men and women.
Yeah. It's I want to go back to what you were saying about your, I was going to say Garmin watch, but I don't. It's your Fitbit.
Yeah.
And you were talking about, because I don't have a Fitbit.
I was thinking about you today in the Fitbit.
I wanted to get like I went shopping for one of these fitness watches, and then I saw how much they cost, and I stopped shopping because they're like, you can spend like $600 on a goddamn watch.
Oh no, that's too much.
But I remember on using my phone to track all this stuff, and having that same thought about the walk versus run, because I would always log it in as a walk, and I logged it in as a walk, and then I was like, well, you can't be cheating, John, and log it in as a run. You know, like, oh,
That's
this
exactly how
wasn't
I
a
felt.
run.
Mhm.
And in my brain, I'm like judging myself about
Yeah.
what I'm logging in as a walk or a run on a app on my phone.
Yeah.
Like, I'm having this internal turmoil over
Right.
this,
It's so fucking nothing. It's like
right?
so
It's
nothing.
nothing.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
nobody else is involved. It's just me
No.
out there.
It's you and the phone.
And so at one point I said, you know what, John? It's a run if you say it's a run. So, and that's just how I started defining it. And so it didn't
Yeah.
matter whether I stopped and started. It didn't matter whether most of it was a walk. I just said, you know what? I'm a runner. I'm going to start running. These
Yeah.
are runs, and that's it.
Right.
And it can be whatever it is for you. I think, you know, other people have other things, and it doesn't necessarily have to be exercise, but it could be things that just bring you some sense of accomplishment, some sense of flow, some sense of just feeling good about doing something rather than, you know, we as alcoholics spend most of our lives doing less than nothing, or you know what I mean?
Right.
Trying to
Yeah.
get away with doing as little as possible
Right.
and still
Mhm.
getting drunk.
Right.
So I hear you there. It's just that
Mhm.
funny little fucking conflict in our heads that we
Yeah.
can't let go of.
And it is really, but just between you, yourself, and your phone, you know. That being
Um,
said, I only got my Fitbit was only like $120 or $130, but I'm not going to convince you. But I love using it. It's for me but we both have different processes. Like
right.
you would like when you count your calories, you did something weird that I don't do. Like I think you just counted them for the day all at once or
But
something.
then I
You're
would
doing
eat that
something.
food like 2
Yes.
days later and
Yes,
not count
exactly.
it.
Yes. So you're like, okay, here's my entire day, and you just put it all in as calories and be like, okay, there's my 1300. Now I just eat up to that point. Whereas I log everything while I do it, just like you do shit on your phone, and I do it all on my Fitbit. That was, and then you know what you're saying about it being between you and the phone, and this idea you have in your head. Like I'll come home exhausted. Like if I run more than 5 right now, I get headaches, really bad migraines. So I have to work my way into it. I can't push myself, you know.
Mm.
And I know for some people they can run whatever. It doesn't matter. But that's my magic number. If I hit 6, I know I'm gonna end up with a migraine later on that day. I might end up with one today just because I haven't run in 2 weeks. But my wife's like, why don't you just run 3? Why do you always have to run 5? Because now I've 5 is my magic number. Why do you always have to run 5? And I'm like, because I can. That's why. Just because I can do it now. Why would I not? I run 3 and I'm like, yeah, I can run 3,
Not
but
enough.
why not 5? I can totally do 5. As a matter of fact, I do 6. I can totally do 6. I just don't want the headache yet. So I have to keep moving myself slowly. You know what I mean? Like I'll do 5.5 next, and then 5 3/4, and then
Right.
do that for a little while until, you know, I know that I won't get a migraine at the end. I don't know why I do that. Why I get those migraines.
I don't know, either water. You drinking enough water?
Probably. I don't drink a lot of water. I drink a lot of soda. You know, I'm just chilling,
Yeah.
drink a lot of iced tea.
Well, you should. I try to pound water in the morning.
Yeah, I drink a lot
take
of water.
A big long pee before I go, and then I just go, and I can usually like dehydrate myself on the run so that I
Yeah.
don't. But
Most likely what it is water. That's the one fitness thing I don't do is like I drink water, but probably not religiously. I mean,
well, I mean, whatever. It's helpful.
whatever. Yeah.
So health is a big thing. So another thing that I'm really one of my favorite things, which is still not, I'm still struggling with now. To give you a little background, when I quit my job in 2017,
Mhm.
and I was like, I'm gonna do this podcast. We're gonna blow it up. I'm gonna do it full time. Everything's gonna work out, and the world's gonna fucking open up for me, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, but part of that was I had some money saved. And so I was like, I'm just going to quit my job and not work. I don't know what that's like. I'm just going to do that.
Mhm.
Lo and behold, the whole world, most of the world would find out this year what that's like, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But,
Should have just held out for a few years, John.
but that's what helped me to spur on the, and I want to talk about finances.
Mhm.
My health journey, right? My, like the whole thing about losing all that weight and getting healthier and all that stuff was because I had all the time. But when the money that I had began to dwindle, I had these credit cards, and I started just kind of living on them part time, and I
Mhm.
started getting like, you know, I think I was able to squeeze out like 6 months, almost 6 months of not working. It was great.
Yeah.
not going to a job I hated, because I don't mind hard work and I don't mind putting myself into things that I love, right?
You just didn't want to bartend anymore, dude.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, makes sense. You're a recovering alcoholic. Like, why the fuck do you want to be around the drunks?
I
Yeah.
did it for 3 years.
Yeah.
And slowly but surely, I put myself into credit card debt that I currently am in.
Oh, yeah.
And great, whatever. It doesn't sound to me like I'm really excited about my finances, or that I'm grateful for them, or it's one of my favorite things in sobriety. But in active alcoholism, I wouldn't have gotten a credit card. I never had any money. I would spend every penny that I had on booze or booze related retail therapy or booze related food or any of that shit. So everything, cab fare, eating out, buying shit I didn't, right?
Yeah.
And so now, even with the struggles that I have, and I'm still trying to find like maybe like a financial planner to come on the podcast and talk about money and recovery and sobriety.
Yeah.
It's really important. But like, okay, so now I've started to come up with a plan. And it's like, so this is the number. Again, what do? We take our inventory. We go, okay, well, this is what I owe. I put a budget of everything that I put out in a month. I started logging every single dollar that I take home. And then I'm going to be like, okay, well, this is how much money I'm making. This is how much money I owe. This is what I can afford to, and sort of knock out the credit card bills. Maybe we talked about in the next 18 months. But for me, that was never the case. I always had a collection agency on my ass. I think I've said this to you before. The Oregon Department of Revenue finally got their last dollar from 2002. But now I feel like I have more control over it. I may be in debt. Those numbers may be going in the wrong direction, but I have more control over my finances than I did. And I know that now is not the best time for a lot of people financially. In fact, it's fucking horrible. And a lot of people are probably not, I look at having a job and having income as a blessing.
Yeah.
Because not everybody has that shit right now.
Yeah.
Big or small. Some people not at all. So, but it's my perspective and my relationship with the money that I have. And it's not perfect, man. I want to preface everything I say with that, because it's easy to sound like I know what the fuck I'm doing.
Yeah.
When there's a microphone on.
Right.
But let's be honest.
You just admitted to living off of your credit cards for 6 months.
Okay, fair enough.
That's not
Never mind. I don't need to preface
financial
it with
advice.
anything. Yeah.
No, but what I'm saying, but look, this is what you're doing though. You're like, hey, I needed to make this mistake in order to maintain to live. It's not like you're like, I needed to buy all this stupid shit. You're like, I just needed beans and rice. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I was paying my electric bill with the
and
credit.
now you're gonna remedy your actions. That's all it is. Yeah. I can relate because, you know me, dude. I fucking broke my leg and had creditors looking for that metal rod in my leg for years. And I'd get on the phone with them all the time and be like, can't squeeze blood from a stone, man. What are you going to come? I don't own anything. I don't have anything. What are you going to do? Like repossess my leg? Really?
Give me that rod.
Yeah. And then figured it all out, over time, figured it out. And as I got sober, now I have like actual credit. Like I have an actual credit score. Does that mean anything in the grand scheme of things? Nah. I mean, it's bullshit. It's credit, right? But if I want to go buy a dumb fucking 80-inch TV and pay that off for the rest of my life, I could. I don't want to. But for me to go, oh, wow, look at me. I'm a functioning member of society. I have an actual credit score that's actually says good on it. Like, I don't know. It feels weird, though, for me to be, like, stoked for that. Like, I feel like the 22-year-old version of me is like, you fucking sold out, man. You fucking sold out. You fucking sell out. Like, you're stoked about your fucking credit score, huh, bitch? Like.
Right, but that voice.
But then 45-year-old me is like, well, yeah, if Olive needs to get, like, something, I can get that for her now. I mean, I'll have to pay for it forever, but I can, let's not fucking bullshit here, like, we'll have to pay, my wife and I'll have to pay all that shit off forever, but I can do that. The option's finally there. I don't have to go save up enough cash to get her an iPad for school. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I could just borrow the money from Chase or whoever it is.
Right. Right.
But you're right. That voice is really counterproductive. But it still makes me laugh though, because I'm like, you fucking sell out asthma and working for the man.
Right. But like that 22-year-old asshole wasn't working for anybody but
No.
himself.
Right. But
And had
coffee corner, like
yeah,
make
coffee corner.
$5 an hour, maybe four or five, like five, whatever
Jesus, yeah.
fucking minimum wage was back then.
Oh my God. 96, 95, 96.
Yeah. Having to try, I'm like, man, I need to make money to pay my $300 a month rent.
When I lived in that house, it was 180 on Charlton for my share of the room.
For your share. That's like nothing now. But back then, that was like
everything.
Number. That was a big number. Yeah.
I can't believe that. That's crazy. $180 a month. Huh. Anyhow,
if we had 180 extra, we would have been walking around in like Coda, like with our gold. I brought him up a couple times, but that was so funny where he's talking about how he has a collection of gold Cazal. Those are like the fat boys glasses, those 80s hip hop glasses.
Dude, that's that retail therapy, that sobriety.
Mm-hmm.
Amazon, click away and get some new shit and feel good when it comes. Open up your little package and you know,
you're like, where the fuck am I gonna wear this T-shirt? I'm in fucking quarantine. Like I got to do some T-shirts, right? And I was like, yeah, these are gonna be dope. But where am I gonna wear them to? Like, I don't even go to the store, dude. Like, barely. Yeah. I'm not gonna run in them.
Yeah, exactly. Too, like I think about my love of nature and being able, like, I feel very fortunate to live where I live, but that there's lots of parks and stuff like that. But I have a memory of going on a couple different hikes, one here and one years ago in like Washington, and hating every single fucking minute of it. Like it was either a group thing or like a girlfriend thing or whatever. And just thinking like, I don't want to fucking be here out in nature and this is miserable. And why can't I just be sitting on a bar stool with a drink in my hand? That's where I belong. Mm-hmm. That's where I'm most comfortable. And just the level of misery on going to Jack London Park. I went years ago with a group from work, from a restaurant I worked at. And it was like 8:00 in the morning and I'm hung over and I'm so big, sweating it and just hating it and not dressed properly. I think I had jeans on and some fucking Fluvogs or something.
Yeah, like you absolutely had jeans, Fluvogs, and like a polyester shirt on.
Like it was just the wrong shit. And so
you're bringing it back. Yeah, the memories.
So and now I can't wait to get out there. I got some shit to do tomorrow, but I'm definitely gonna go get out there and just have some time out there. And it's almost like church in a way for me. There's definitely a spiritual connection with nature that I had no idea about before.
Yeah.
I know that you do mostly, you do most of your running.
I would find more trails out here, but I just don't want to drive out there.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all it is. If I could just drive out there, then I'd be like, because I'm listening to you talk about being out in nature and I'm feeling envious. Like, man, I need it. The end of my track I run goes into a little nature trail that's about half a mile or 3/4 of a mile that I usually will tack on at the end. Mm-hmm. But I don't, I'm unfamiliar with the trail. I don't want to get lost out in the woods here too. Like that would suck. But I mean, literally, this isn't the woods. Like I can see backyards and shit. So.
But yeah, so it's just that level of connection and whatever it is for anybody listening, it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be going to the park, like going to.
Dude, yeah.
There's something special about it to me that I had no idea about.
Right, and I can absolutely relate with those walks where a girlfriend's like, "Let's go for a hike," and you're like, "Yeah," because you're all drunk, and then the next day you're like, "I'm gonna have to shit out in the woods." Like, this is awful.
Right? I mean, that's another thing. Just the physiological problems that I don't deal with anymore. That are like I'm healthy and I feel good and nature is there and I have things that I connect with. You like. And I know that you're doing more artwork and a lot of it is commission stuff. So it's not necessarily for you, but
it's different though. It's different. No, it's different from tattooing because I'm actually exercising a muscle I like to exercise.
Right.
Yeah, it's like exercise. Like these aren't for me, but they are for me in a sense because yeah, I'll paint your fucking dog. Like I'm not really a dog person. I have become more of a dog person painting people's dogs. Like I like dogs more now that I'm painting them because
Mhm.
I can look at their dumb faces and their stupid eyes and be like, "You're hilarious. You fucking eat turds or whatever." But I exercise. It's exercising. It's meditation and exercise. And I put on a book and just fucking paint hair around a dog's eye and just love it because I'm like flexing that muscle. So right now
Uh-huh.
I'm working on a commission portrait of a person and I'm like loving it because I'm like I get to paint skin. You know what I mean? Like I get to paint, like I get to get into it. That's why the other day you're like, let's have this meeting. And I'm like, dude, I got to get out there. Like this person's been waiting and I've been waiting. And I was out there for like 5 fucking hours just
Wow.
listening to the stand and painting skin, like I love it, dude. That's my
That's
church.
awesome.
Yeah.
I know. I mean, I think about that because I don't I'm still struggling with, my hours and my job and,
Yeah, yeah,
things like so my schedule's it's not I haven't found a groove just yet.
yeah.
And I loved the groove that I had where there's been a couple of days I've done it where I get up at like 5:30 or 6 in the morning and I just have like a couple hours to kind of just wake up and read and write. And I
Hmm.
want to get more into that. And that's coming, I think, again. It's just but finding that groove with like something that you love.
Yeah,
Especially when you talk about painting and I was out there for 5 hours and
yeah.
stuff like that your daughter, I think sometimes you don't think about it, but she's like, daddy's in the, why is daddy spending so much time in the garage? And it's like, he loves to do this thing. And
Oh
like,
yeah. She comes out with me sometimes. She has a little
yeah.
canvas she paints on. Yeah.
So, I mean, I think that's something to think about too. And you're like, I don't want to fuck up this kid. It's like, well,
Right,
and
exactly.
I think just your life is a good lesson
Right.
for her or your day. I don't know. I'm not.
This is so funny. What's daddy doing out in the garage for 5 hours? Like
I
drinking
mean,
and
you're right.
drinking and
Exactly.
masturbating.
It could be
Just
something. It could, I mean, it very easily could have been the other way around.
absolutely. Oh yeah, because I drank and painted in the garage. I mean, that's what I've always done. I remember someone at work being like, "Well, you don't paint anymore because you're sober, right? So it's not the same." And I didn't have the heart to be like, "No, I don't paint because this job I'm doing right now takes all that inspiration and pushes it into a different place, and I don't.
Hmm.
I feel I'm too tired. Like this just takes everything out of me, you know." Yeah. But I paint and drank a lot. That was my shit. I burnt cigarette incense and drank a fifth of whiskey painting and then have to go and fix everything the next day
Or destroy it.
or destroy it or punch a hole through it and, tear it in half. Oh, yeah, I did that. Smash it with a fucking hammer. I've done all that shit. This ain't about my greatest hits, though. It's about a compilation album.
Oh, but yeah. I don't know, man. I think too something that I learned this year and
Mhm.
very recently, um, and I haven't done any research on this idea that I've had. So, and because I don't know if it's an actual thing or if it's just something in my brain.
Uh-huh.
But so you have always said on this podcast that acceptance is one of the biggest tools that you
Yeah.
have used. That's one of the most important things that I mean, I hear it from you more than I hear it from myself, but
Mm.
more and more not just during sobriety, but in 2020 and with the pandemic, with struggles that I've had financially, struggles that I've had with my relationship, with all of with the civil rights movement that has been sparked this year,
Yeah. Mhm.
with everything divisively political, with all of the injuries I have sustained from running, from my food addictions, from my still I haven't even brought it up, but like
Right.
still dealing with alcoholism. Um, this acceptance and this idea of acceptance, like, and I started to think about like what would it mean to just accept everything as it is, like, and I started thinking about this idea of radical acceptance.
Right.
And so I don't know if it's an actual thing or not, but I'm making it one today for me.
Hmm.
And which is not to say that I won't stand up for myself, which is not to say that I won't go for what I want, which is not to say that I won't assert myself
Hmm.
when something I feel isn't right
Yeah.
or I think I need it to be another way because of something that I desire. Like there's nothing wrong with that. But when I take a breath and go, you know what? This is the way it is. And if I truly, truly fucking believe, if I'm going to have any real kind of faith in this higher power that I don't fully understand, but that's part of the recovery and part of the getting over the alcoholism and spiritual awakening and epiphanies and all that stuff, then I have to accept it as part of the greater good, no matter what it is, no matter who's in my face saying something, right? No matter, and this is stupid, but it's real, no matter what somebody posts on their Facebook page, Instagram post, Twitter tweet, Pinterest page, whatever else, you know what I mean? So all the social media, whatever somebody says, what I have to accept it as part of the greater good. And there's this word that I want to, and I wish I would have had it prepared because I'm going to lose momentum in my talk.
Yeah, I thought you had already had it prepared. I was like, here we go. He's got his notes and everything.
So the word, I believe, is, I believe it's telelectic is the word. Am I wrong here? I don't know. I'm going to have to find it now. God damn it.
This will be the little added part. You're like, footnote. The word is.
So I believe the word is telelectic, and the idea of the word is that everything is happening for a reason, right? And we hear this a lot.
Yeah.
We hear this a lot, right? And it's I'll have to find the word, unfortunately. And it's easy to hear it and go like, yeah, whatever, dude. Everything happens for a reason. What about colon cancer in children?
Right.
And so I don't have all of the answers about everything in the under the sun. Like I don't have those, but I don't need to have those, right? I just need to accept things for me, for today, and what I need to get through my day and not drink.
Yeah.
And so like, okay, something bad has happened, something horrible. There are any number of bad things that are going to happen in my life. You know, my mother is going to die one day, right? People I know and love are going to die. I'm just using that as an example of something that's inevitable.
It's valid though, yeah.
So how am I going to deal with that?
Right.
Am I going to there's nothing wrong with processing emotion. There's nothing wrong with crying and grieving and all that shit.
Great. Yeah.
But the idea of fighting against it or resisting it, you know, Buddha says suffering is just resisting what is. And so I'm really, really trying hard to, when somebody comes at me with something, whether it's whatever the issue is, that I go, okay, I accept that. And that it doesn't have to get under my skin, right? I heard this in a meeting one time, and this old dude, old crusty guy got up and he had this amazing, beautiful share. And he said, you know what, man? We all got buttons on us. And people see them, and they love to push the buttons. And he said, part of my recovery is getting rid of all those buttons.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's what it is. It's this radical acceptance of everything. Everything. And, you know, what is it? What makes you angry? Well, what part? Again, the fourth step. Then my sponsor was like, add that last column. What is your part in this?
Yeah.
Am I angry at something in the news? Okay, well, maybe turn off the news. Or, you know,
you're absolutely right.
Maybe I'm pointing a finger at you a little bit.
Yeah, no, you're pushing some buttons over here, damn it. No, but this is right, though. I needed to hear this. You keep going, but I do need to hear this, though. This is exactly what I needed.
But the thing is that, yes, it's about letting go of those buttons, because there's going to be no shortage of people who are going to want to push them, and they're going to look for you, you know. And I've worked with people in the past who are nothing but trolls and just like to fucking.
Oh yeah, so have I.
Right? Yeah. And so,
like that entire fucking tattoo shop I worked at, it was all troll breeding ground. except for
But-
like one dude.
But
It wasn't
it's
me.
like, but it is, it's for me getting rid of those buttons, because if I don't have those buttons, then they can't bother me, and I can be more focused on the things that I want to create and do in my life.
Correct.
For me. So that's my new thing that I am trying and calling radical acceptance, that I just honestly thought about and came up with in the last week and a half.
I love it. I love it.
So-
And this is why I was saying I needed to hear it, because I feel like a lot of my dour mood has to do with the fact that I'm not accepting the position I'm in right now. Like I am in lockdown. I could go out of lockdown. I could go out there and be a fucking ding dong and go out in the world and high five and give kisses and do all the shit I'm not supposed to be doing and probably get sick or get someone else sick. I could absolutely do that. But this is the choice I'm making for myself, so I have to accept it, you know. Same with politics. You're absolutely right. You just stop watching YouTube. I don't even have Facebook, and I'm still fucked up on politics. I got rid of Facebook like 4 years ago because of politics. Before Trump, I got rid of Facebook. So, yeah. But so it is what it is. I'm the one, I've deleted Twitter twice already and gone back on it. And I don't know, man. I don't know. I just got to stop doing that shit. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna dump the Facebook this year at the end. I mean,
It doesn't help me with anything. If I could get rid of Instagram now at this point, if people weren't messaging me for commission paintings, I can't. If I was getting nothing out of Instagram, I would have dumped that too.
Mhm.
Absolutely would have dumped it. Yeah, but I'm actually getting work through it, so I'm like, well, fuck, Zuckerberg. I guess I gotta play your little game. Because you're coming at me personally.
Right. You gotta, dude. I would say you got to get on TikTok, but I think the ban's are already in place. So
I already have TikTok.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Watching that shit and being like either confused or laughing most of the time.
Basically,
Young people
right?
confuse me, but I love them.
Isn't that hilarious that we're
Yeah.
at this age where I'm like watching somebody who's in their 20s and I'm like, what the fuck are you trying to say? And so part of me, like, sometimes I'll get into it and I'm like, okay, I need to go Google that word and find out what the slang is. You know, when somebody says no cap. And
I don't know what that is either.
It basically means, what does it mean? It means like totally.
Oh,
like,
no, there's no cap on it. Like I'm being real with you, right?
No cap.
Or
Yeah,
does it
something
mean
like
I
that.
agree with you? Anyway,
It's me being honest. Yeah. Anyhow, look it up. But it was
Right.
funny because we were talking at the restaurant about a larger party. It was like 10 people, and when they put a chair on each end of the bigger party, they call it a cap. And so our manager was like, "Yeah, no, we'll do 5 and 5, no cap."
Mhm.
And I didn't want to say like,
Yo, I'm being real with you, dog.
Gen Z.
Real
You know,
with
he's
me, no
using-
cap.
He wasn't using Gen Z slang. He was just talking about the cap on
Do you
the
say
end
it
of
first or last? Am I
He
like,
said-
yo, John, no cap? I fucking love butts.
I think you'd be
no
like,
cap.
I love no butt. I love butts, no cap. I think you say it at the end.
I love lady butts, no cap.
No cap. I think so. I think that's how you...
2020.
So I found the word.
Okay.
I was very close. It's teleological.
Telelogic. Okay. I was over here llooking up teleelectric on my phone too, just finding weird websites.
Right? Teleological. And this is the thing that struck me. And I think there was a guy by the name of Ezra Klein, and he does a lot of political reporting, and I really like him.
I know the name. I'm familiar with
He's
it. Yeah.
extraordinarily intelligent. To listen to him talk about these big ideas. But anyhow, so teleological and of or relating to teleology, the philosophical doctrine that final causes, design, and purpose exist in nature. The doctrine that final causes exist, meaning that everything happens for a reason, which is for me, sometimes impossible thought to hold, but especially when I'm in pain or I'm frustrated or I'm angry or I'm sad. But it's like, if I accept the sadness as part of whatever the greater good is, then it can't be bad. And that helps me to ease the sadness and work through it a little bit better.
Right. That there'll be a product, a beneficial, or not even a beneficial, just a product at the end of this.
There will be a product, something that I need or
yeah.
something that I want, something that I require.
Right.
So that's that is my new philosophy, Jerry. Like I said, it might already be out there in the world, and if it is, great.
Well, we'll report in next week and see how you're doing.
It'll all just be part of the plan, bro. I don't know.
All part of the Johnny's plan.
My higher power.
Higher.
And it's funny. I also have to laugh at the dichotomy of my life sometimes. We did the episode where I talked about being a bartender. Been dichotomy. I have to go now. I have to get out of here. Because I have to go help make some sangria for next weekend at the restaurant.
Nice.
So I got to go get knee deep in about a case of wine and some fucking Midori.
Fucking gross. Good luck. At least you get to wear a mask, dude.
Exactly, right?
You don't have to smell it. Yeah.
Is there anything else, Jerry? Are there any final parting words for?
Nah.
Nah?
Nah, fuck that. Just, you know what? It'll be okay. I needed to hear you talk about acceptance because I think a lot of my problems right now not only are psychological because I have, fucking chronic depression, but on top of it, I think a lot of it is triggered by being not accepting what's going on around me and trying to fight against it. So I appreciate hearing that. So I would say, yeah, that's it. Cool. On my end, just I needed to accept some shit. And if you're out there listening, you'll be all right. Just roll with it. Just, don't do what we tell you, but just listen to what we're saying. You know what? I don't want to say any of that shit at all. Let's just forget I said that.
Just,
don't do anything.
We're grateful that you're listening.
Yes, thanks.
And we hope that you find some nuggets of truth and help.
Right.
Some of the rambling musings.
Right. I'm like, yeah, don't do what we're doing, but don't be listening to us either. As a matter of fact, just subscribe.
So yeah, we'll hit you up next week with some more. Who knows?
Who knows? O-L-M-N-N.
We've got to go through the alphabet.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool.
Well, have a good one, John.
You too, man. Later.
Thanks again for listening. Our music, as always, is by Neglect. You can find more of his stuff at neglect.bandcamp.com.
And you can find us on all social media platforms that matter: Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And you can reach us at aisforalcoholic@gmail.com.
Talk to you later.
Yeah.